Welcome to All This Math. This is Professor Parker, and today we're going to get into some more algebra. And today we're going to deal with something called literal equations. Literal equations, all right? Now, if you look behind me on this board, this is our equation. And yeah, this equation looks real crazy. It's a lot going on. It's a lot of different letters, a couple of numbers. It's just wild, right? It's kind of wild, but I'm gonna show you a step-by-step process in terms of that will enable you to be able to solve this type of equation, right? Because you first have to be told what you're solving for, all right? So here you're solving for X, all right? You could be solving for Y, you could be solving for F, you could be solving for, well, that's all the variables that's up there. So this is what we do. And what I tried to do was put up here on the board, and you should copy this down into your notes, a step-by-step process. This is not etched in stone. You don't have to follow this procedure or go in this order necessarily, but this is a method that works, all right? So I say step number one is to distribute, all right? Distribute, meaning if you see parentheses, you multiply the term that's outside the parentheses by everything inside the parentheses, all right? So remember, at the same time, my main goal or my end goal is to get X all by itself on one side of the equation. It could be the left side or the right side, but I typically like to have the variable that I'm solving for on its own on the left side of the equation. All right, so I'm gonna say X is equal to something. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna distribute 4 times X and 4 times Y. All right, so everything else stays the same. Nothing else changes, right? This is still AX, this is still FY. This is gonna become negative 4X and negative 4Y. Peep what happened. That's negative 4 times X, that's negative 4 times Y. That gives us these two products. But everything else stays the same though. All right, so that's our first step, so we distribute it. Then the next step I give you is to transpose. Now what does transpose mean? Transpose basically means when you pick up terms in an equation and move them to opposite sides of the equation. So you move them to the other side of the equal sign. So what I want to do is I want to transpose and move all my X terms to the left, because remember, I want to end up with X on the left, right? So I want to move all my X terms to the left, and at the same time, I want to move all my Y terms to the right. So the X's are going to move to the left, and the Y terms are going to move to the right. So check this out. And another thing you got to remember when you do that is when you move terms or when you transpose, you have to change the signs of the terms. Everything gets the opposite sign, all right? So I already got AX over here, and I got minus 4X right here. These X terms are already over here. This X right here, this got to come over with the X's. So I'm going to move this X over here, slide it over here, but it becomes negative. See, over here is positive, but when you transpose, you move it to the other side of the equation. Now it becomes negative, all right? Now at the same time, this is already a negative Y over here, but I got to do something with this FY and this negative 4Y. These Y's got to go. These Y's got to slide over to the right side. Just like the X's had to slide over to the left, the Y's got to slide over to the right. And when this FY moves over, now it's going to be minus FY. And when this negative 4Y moves over, now it's going to be plus 4Y. All right? So now, what I'm doing now is, now I'm going to try to combine like terms. So let me see what I did. I distributed already. I just transposed. Now I'm about to CLT. CLT stands for combine like terms. Some textbooks call it collect like terms. All it means is if you have multiple X's, you consolidate them into one X term. If you have multiple Y's, you consolidate them into one Y term. All right? As long as your coefficients are of the same type, as long as your coefficients are all integers or fractions, decimals, whatever, right? So over here, I can combine this negative 4X and this negative X, because that's negative 4X and that's negative 1X, because no number is written right there, so that's an invisible 1, right? I can't do nothing with the AX. I mean, A is A. These are numbers, negative 4 and negative 1, which is invisible. So I'm going to just write AX minus 5X, right? I just combine these two joints right here, right? Negative 4X minus X, negative 5X. Then over here, I got my equal sign, and I'm looking for something to combine over here. Okay, the negative Y and the 4Y. So now I got 3Y minus FY. Now remember, my goal is to solve for X. So I'm trying to get a single X over here by itself. Now I got all my x's over here, but I need x in one place. Right now I got x in two different places. That's a problem. That means I'm not done yet. So I combine my like terms, but now I'm a factor. I factor out a GCF. The greatest common factor of this expression is x. X is what these two terms have in common. Because I got an x in this term and I got an x in this term. So x to the first power, or x, is my GCF. So I write x right here, and then when you use a GCF, you got to write a set of parentheses. Now the question is, what's going to go inside the parentheses though, right? What goes inside the parentheses is the quotient you get when you divide this original term by the GCF. Original term divided by the GCF. One more time. The original term divided by the GCF. So what's AX divided by X? If you divide AX by X, the X is going to cancel out, right? Leaving you with just A. And if you divide negative 5X by X, the X is going to cancel out there, leaving you with just minus 5. Right? So now that's factored. Now I could do the same thing over here, and I will, even though I don't really need to, because I'm not trying to solve for Y. So the right-hand side with the Y's don't got to be all neat and clean. The X side does though. So my common factor over here is also Y. And what goes in the parentheses? 3 minus F. Where did 3 minus F come from though? Original term divided by the GCF. 3y divided by y, the y's cancel out, leaving me with 3. Negative fy divided by y, the y's cancel out, leaving me with negative f. Now, I factored. Now my last step is to divide, because I'm trying to get this x all by itself. So I got to get rid of this a minus 5. And good thing for us is that this a minus 5 is one expression, right? That a and that negative 5 are together, right? So they move together, right? So I can get rid of this whole a minus 5 by doing the opposite operation. So what is x and a minus 5 doing? They are multiplying by each other. This represents x times a minus 5. So when you're trying to get rid of terms or expressions in any equation, no matter how big or small the equation is, how complex or simple it is, you do the opposite operation to get rid of things. Always remember that. You do the opposite operation to get rid of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by a minus 5. But if I divide by a minus 5 on the left, I also got to divide by a minus 5 on the right. All right? So I got a minus 5 over here and a minus 5 right there. They're the same thing. So whenever you divide something by itself, the quotient is 1. So this becomes 1 and that becomes 1. So now I got x times 1 divided by 1, which is just good old x. And now on the right side, I got y times the quantity, 3 minus f over a minus 5. And we are all done. All right? So we got x equal to y times the quantity, 3 minus f, all divided by a minus 5. All right? So like I said, this is called a literal equation where we have a bunch of variables, right? That we have a bunch of variables. We have to solve. We have to pick what variable we're solving for. The instructions will tell you what to solve for, though. We could also solve for y. We could also solve for f. There's ways to do all of that. So, but keep practicing with these. Go find some problems like this and keep practicing. Thank you for tuning in. Like the video. Subscribe to the page if you didn't already. Tell some more people about it. And always do remember that there's all this math all around you. Peace.